Hello, you're listening to the Level Up Creators podcast. Amanda Northcutt here, founder and CEO. Welcome to a very special series of the Level Up Creators podcast where we're featuring participants from the MRR Accelerator Cohort 2. Today, I am so pumped to welcome a very special guest, John Giganti. John is the USA Today bestselling author of With Intention, a former corporate sales exec who helped scale a company to almost $1 billion, former D1 soccer player for Bowling Green, and now he's helping high-performing leaders and teams grow with clarity, purpose, and sustainable success. Through our work together in the Accelerator, we're building something incredibly aligned with his mission, and it's going to scale with intention. Welcome, John.
Hey, Amanda. It's so great to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to be here together in this environment. I'm so excited to share a little bit more of you with the world. And let's kick off with going back to college. You know, you played D1 soccer. I know I have a degree in sport management. That's pretty useless, but I do know the statistics around how hard it is to become a D1 athlete here in the States. So take us back to that and take us through today, all the way through to today.
Sure. Yeah. So it's so interesting because I was with two of my former teammates last night, actually had dinner, and then found out that they were downtown Columbus, Ohio, so I met them. And of course, you go back and you start reminiscing about the good days and stuff. It's a fascinating world now for soccer has grown so much in this country. The game's changed quite a bit, but I think back to my time playing. So I played soccer at Bowling Green. We were mid-major school, so it was MAC conference, like not supposed to compete for national titles or anything like that. But I went to college with three of my high school teammates. So we decided we all were getting recruited multiple places, but one of the guys who I was with last night was 1 year older than his brother, and then another teammate of mine that ended up following him. He went to Bowling Green, and we played our senior year of high school, and we all went for a recruiting trip and loved it and saw the team was on a good trajectory. So we decided to run it back and let's all play college ball together. And so ended up an incredible run for 3 seasons. We were MAC champs, 2 Sweet 16s, competed, lost to Wisconsin in my sophomore year in the NCAA tournament first round. They ended up winning the title. Lost to Indiana, who's like the Alabama or Ohio State, of football. I'm sorry, Texas A&M. You're an
I know where we stand. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So, it was awesome. I had the opportunity to play on the field, played against some players that played in the World Cup and professionally. I had about 10 teammates that had the chance to play professionally. So I would love to say my story ended up this fairy tale. It was amazing. I had this incredible career and all that, but it's not the story, and that's okay. So the story is actually one of not really honestly reaching my potential in that environment. And it's high stakes, high pressure. You've got to be ready for, you got to have your game face on every day to make it. Everybody was good. So I grew up, and I know you were an athlete, so I grew up being one of the better players on every field I was on since the time I was 3, 4, 5 years old. And so you kind of grew up with this, I can never fail attitude. Like, I knew when I showed up my freshman year and didn't earn a starting job, like I kind of knew, like, okay, freshman year, but it was almost laughable. It's only a time spot because I never started for any team I've ever played on. And so I had a pretty good freshman season, but here's the thing. This is really an important piece of it is like I was personally cracking inside. There was just a lot of stuff I hadn't dealt with. So family stuff, dad had some mental health stuff growing up. Family kind of swept it under the rug, and I was fine until I got into this environment. And again, high pressure, probably doing way too much partying. Honestly, that's part of this. But in between my freshman and sophomore year, my parents got in a big fight, ended up getting divorced. And I go back to school, and I never said anything to anybody. I didn't want to acknowledge it. And I just kept playing. I won a starting spot, even was MVP of one of our tournaments. So I was good enough to be one of the better players on the field, but I felt something cracking. I just felt, something wasn't right. But I never said anything to any of my teammates. These guys are some of my best friends to this day. They know the story now. By the time I got to be a senior on this high-performing team, I played still, but I lost my starting spot. Just was never reached the potential that I longed for. I wanted to play pro ball, didn't make it. And so it's a story of, honestly not taking out my trash. So I had all this stuff pent up, and over time, and you said I'll give a little bit of the Cliff's Notes version, but I moved to Chicago after school. I get a job in the financial world, end up randomly in the software business. I was a trainer for a software company, present and teach and train, and eventually got into sales. And about midway through my career, I started having panic attacks presenting. So I would literally get up in front of a room. And this is really the odd part about all this, Amanda, is that my freshman year of high school, I was a speech champion. St. Edward's High School in Cleveland. And my English teacher pulled my mom and I aside, I'll never forget. And he said, I think John's got a chance to be the first 4-time speech champion in our history. And so speaking I was naturally pretty good at it. And I worked really hard. I would bust my butt every morning with my mom. So for that speech, there's a lot of effort. I honestly think I got a little cocky after I was the speech champion and told that. I finished third the next year. And then I ended up transferring schools, but to play soccer. But anyway, you fast forward in the business world, again, another high performance environment, got promoted pretty early in my career, had some success, but it was all surfacey. And again, I found myself cracking on the inside, but guess what? Never said anything to anybody. So on paper, no one would have ever known it until I had a panic attack in the middle of a freaking sales presentation in Chicago and I had to leave the room and faked a headache, because I had a therapist tell me that's what I should do, and still never said anything to anybody until a year or two later. And so that process, I wouldn't change a thing. That process has been every piece of that story is vitally important, because it's taught me that there's this old adage with executives, I would say, especially men, but I would say anybody, humans, never let them see you sweat. No one wants to show weakness. It's bullshit. So I'm on this mission to uproot that. And so I left my corporate gig last year and I'm doing this work full time. And it's fun. It's really exciting.
Yes, man, that's just an incredible story. And just the way that you have woven in all of your life experience and things that have happened really over the last 3 decades into this with intention methodology and the Giganti group. And tell us a little bit more about what you do and how all of this past experience, and maybe trauma is my word, not yours, but it has informed your work. What are you going to spend the rest of your life doing because of how the last 3 decades have gone?
Yeah, I would say so. Probably at my darkest moment was panic attack. Around that same time, go figure, I had an account asked for me to be taken off because I wasn't serving them the right way. I was pretty selfish sales rep early in my career. And I got moved teams, and then another account who I was really close with, good friends with, they were going to go to a competitor. And luckily, we had a little clause in the contract that kept them from going, and that gave me an opportunity to adjust a little bit and figure things out. But I had an executive, I'll never forget, it's again, many, many years ago, my son, Gabe, who's now 17, was probably 4 or 5. I'm taking him to a soccer game on a Saturday morning. And this executive calls me, and he calls me Johnny when he wanted to, when he liked me. And I knew if he called me, he was calling me John. It wasn't good news. So he says, Johnny, I believe in you. I want you to reinvent yourself. And then he pauses and he's like, no, I want you to invent yourself. And it was, I get chills even saying it, because it was just the amount of belief I need. I mean, my lowest moment. And so I went on a mission to learn everything I could about transformation and getting better. Books, and I hired coaches. I joined a mastermind that was life-changing, and I just dug really deep. I was going to therapy, but I started to actually be okay telling people I was going to therapy and being more open about stuff. And then I just saw the evolution of that. So that absolutely it was traumatic experience for sure, but it was a flip of what can I do with this? So I feel like life's always about data and meaning, and data comes at us every day, all day, and it's what we're going to do with what we contribute to it. And so I've just been on a mission since then to build this. And frankly, I didn't have the resources. I had to go scour and figure it out myself. So I would go pay for assessments and, again, read books and go join classes and different things. And I want to bring that scale to people. It's almost helping the former version of myself. But I feel like a lot of people in our assessment right now is in beta. We've had about 40 people take it. It's been been really cool to see. But I feel like a lot of people are craving awareness and don't know where to go to get it. And so that's the first step in my model is awareness. And then it's, putting people down a path to transformation.
Yeah, almost like this little, the little intuition inside of you. It sounds like you ignored for a really long time. You're helping people who are feeling that and don't know where to reach, right? They're grasping at straws potentially and know there is more and they're not living up to their full potential, but you're providing the roadmap, and you're like the perfect example of been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Like you have been through the shit, right? And you have come out the other side because like of your awareness, like you became aware of the situation, you admitted to it, you went and you got the help, and then you built the roadmap. So let's talk a little bit about what changed in your career. So I guess your boss had that conversation with you around like 2012, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around that point. Yep.
What happened at that time, and then what did that mean for the rest of your career, basically the next 12 years?
Yeah. So once I got that second chance, I changed my entire approach. So one, and the with intention model is two things. It's self-intention. So how do you build yourself? And the second piece of it is others' intention. So you're not building yourself just to be selfish. You're building yourself to serve others. And so I changed my approach to sales, for example. So I used to think about selling and it was all about me and my quota and everything else. Yeah, I was a good enough guy to build relationships and close some deals, but it just was not. It was very up and down, I would say. And so this account that was going to leave us, when they said, we had to scramble. We flew down to Texas and pitched them. And we came up with, hey, we think there's a $10 million impact here. You got to give us a chance to do this. And I never really sold that way before, like ROI and value and all that stuff. There was more pitching products and that sort of thing. That's what I love, all the work you guys do. And so, and I was kind of a lone ranger too, where I would go on myself. And we had a consulting organization that was just ramping up the company. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, I don't have to do all this myself. I can actually leverage the team. And so we called it a process review. So we said, you got to give us like 3 days. We're going to fly down. We're just going to spend time with your team and get to understand your business. And then we'll come back a couple of weeks later and we'll do a readout and we'll help build a path to the $10 million. And so that process, just aha moments the whole time, because I'm like, oh shit, if I lead with curiosity first and actually care about the customer, where they want to go, it's not, it's amazing how that builds a connection and trust. And when you ask the right questions and they feel that you care, they're going to give you a lot of layers. And so over the course of the next 2 years, we built a whole plan with these guys to basically attack that $10 million with products and services. And then we got on, and there was a whole team approach. I wasn't doing all the work, but I was kind of orchestrating it. So there's another thing like, this is interesting. You can leverage the team. You don't have to do it just like a sports team. But we would get on a call every week with these guys. We build a scorecard. Very simple. If you saw it today, you would laugh. It's so archaic, but it's just like, hey, you do X to Y by when. Right? So goal setting. Let's have defined criteria. Here's how we're going to get to the 10 million. There's 5 different things we're going to do. We started meeting every week. And after a couple of weeks, when we were starting to show results, the higher level, we were sold to the claims side of business and insurance. And the executive team would call the CEO and be like, you got to get on the phone. You got to see these numbers. Like, I think initially they were sending it, but then they started calling him. And the guy then would start getting on our calls. And so we built this cadence of really accountability and I call it partnership, right? A partnership approach versus a vendor approach. We ended up, I think it was $30 million impact by the end of this a couple of years later. And here's what's crazy about this. Our main competitor came in and offered him the business for free. And this was a couple $1 million account of ours at the time. And my boss never told me that they were offered for free on purpose because he wanted to see. And so, and it was just an incredible journey of like, and then we ended up selling a bunch of new stuff. Again, all directed towards what their vision and goals were. Almost like sales became easy because I knew where they wanted to go. Just showing up and saying, you can say yes or no, but here's a way to get there. So it completely transformed my approach. And then I honestly used that same approach with every account going forward. And then I eventually got promoted to lead a team, that's how I taught my team. And we would do whiteboard sessions and vision and strategy meetings. And just always gold. You never really care and learn about someone. Made the sales process.
Right. So I'm seeing a lot of threads and kind of like through lines, but I mean, it feels like 2012, 2013, that was a major turning point for you, John. And it sounds like your approach to work obviously changed significantly. You went back to the team MO, right? Back to soccer, and I don't have to do this by myself. I don't have to like push this boulder up the hill, and I don't need to be talking about widgets and features and benefits. I need to be talking about value outcomes and transformation. I need to be working toward making the business case and matchmaking. Tell me a little bit about how your experience as a D1 athlete informs your approach today. I mean, you have this very unique bridge between athletics at a very high degree and business at a very, very, very high level as well. And I know a lot of your methodology kind of incorporates those two things, and you work in both sport and business. I guess draw a straight line between those two things and how that informs the with intention methodology.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's most people think about team building or sales or sports or any performance in the head, right? It's very much X's and O's and how do I get the right mindset? Very important, by the way. I'm not saying it's not. I think of it as a heart connection. So, and I think it's a dual. You've got to connect the head and the heart. So what I've seen is the best teams are connected with both, but especially from a heart standpoint. So whether it's culture building for a sports team, if you're truly connected, you truly have, I talk to a lot of leaders, and one of the things I say is just vulnerability is a superpower. And once you take your cape off and you show that you're a human, it's unbelievable how much trust you can build with your team. I don't care what level you're at. Not to say you have to, every day start crying in front of everybody and unleash everything. I'm not saying that, but man, if you just take off the mask a little bit, it just frees everybody else up. So, and I think the heart connection is true in sales too. I think in any conversation, any human can have, if you show up with a good heart posture and an open heart posture that I want to help serve, people feel that, and there's an energy to that. And I think that the best salespeople, the best coaches, the best performers, and it's interesting because you can have success in any way, I think, without having it, but I think it's fleeting. Dare I say, maybe a little fake as well. So, yeah, my mission's just to help build connected leaders and teams because I think that's where the magic is, and feel it. I feel as I talk to more people that the message resonates and they get it. Everybody knows how to do it, and it's a little scary for a lot of people too, by the way, to like really get there. But I think that heart piece is so important as individuals and then as we're serving.
So you work with professional sports teams, and you go in, and at this point, it's 2025. Are you seeing more of the posture of don't let them see you sweat, or acknowledging that vulnerability is a superpower? What's the affect? What's the locker room kind of affect at this point? And are organizations like that, how are they showing their openness to the with intention methodology?
Yeah, I think it's very open. I think it's uncomfortable at times for people, but I think people are becoming better living into that discomfort a little bit and maybe it takes a little bit of nudging or some conversation. But yeah, I think people realize that success can be fleeting and it's not about the trophy, right? Like if you look at there's Tom Brady's been interviewed a bunch lately, and there's been a bunch of other athletes that talk about winning the ultimate prize. But Tom Brady said, I won the Super Bowl. Yeah, it was cool for like a day, and then all of a sudden he's thinking about the next one. Nick Saban from Alabama said the same thing. The next, it's just one of the clients I work with in professional sports has talked about it. He's won multiple titles. So the next one. What's interesting is having some dialogue now. This individual is not always he wants to win, of course, but knows that there's a higher purpose to all this. And if he can build teams and people and human beings, the winning is almost secondary. And that's really, it's not the case at that level because you got to win. That's all part of it. Wins and losses really matter, but you can do it in a more sustainable way. And I think there's an authenticity play here where if a leader can show up as their authentic selves and frankly cut out a lot of bullshit. But I think it opens everybody up, and it's going to lead to better team cohesiveness, team connection. Yeah, I mean, I feel, I would say anybody I talk to, especially when I go and talk to teams, sales teams or sports teams, and I get to share my story and then share hey, this is the with intention blueprint. Here's how I think you can implement it. It's always fascinating to me to see the looks and just the conversation that honestly takes place as people start to open up, and just like, it's almost a freedom for people. Just like, okay, yes, we can go there, and it's going to actually help us perform.
That's really cool. What an incredible psychologically safe environment you're creating in a, historically toxic masculinity filled environment. So you're bringing this, but you have all the credentials, right? The D1 athlete, the sales guy. And so you have been in what I would describe as a woman as toxic male cultures before, probably. Is that fair?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And you had a pretty big life event that kind of turned some light bulbs on for you. And then, you walk the walk on the other side of that, on the other side of the street, if you will, from that toxic masculinity, don't let them see you sweat and close the deal no matter what kind of situation, to, okay, we're going to be aware of our feelings. It's okay to feel feelings. It's okay to be vulnerable. Not only is it okay, it's encouraged. And just giving men permission, women too, but the sports teams I know you work with are men's teams, giving those athletes permission to let their guards down and showing them the path of what's possible, not only on like the win and loss column, but as you're talking about with Tom Brady and Nick Saban, there's so much more to living a fulfilled life than just the wins and losses. And so tell me a little bit more about how your life outside of work changed kind of in the 2010s after that conversation with your boss, and how you approach with intention methodology sort of informs kind of like the whole person. Like, we're not just talking about going to work and showing up at work this way, but it really is all encompassing.
Yeah. So one of the biggest shifts for me was taking the time for myself to start the day. So like, it was total hustle culture. Whoever could send the first email, the earlier the better. And he probably even messed around at times and like sent an email the night before, but scheduled it for 5:36 a.m. to make it look like I was waking up super early or something. But I mean, we would get up and it was always catch the first flight out. There was pride around all that, and so through this process, look, it was rough. I mean, if you think about this, I'm having panic attacks. I've got 5 mouths to feed at home. I've got 3 young kids at the time, married. When you're not able to present in a meeting, like I would try, and if I didn't have a formal presenting role in a meeting, I would actually like try to get as far away from the screen or the center of attention as possible. Like, that's not good for someone, sales person. So my income had gone down at that point because I wasn't closing deals, and I was move teams and all this stuff. So I went from being this, you start to numb the pain and you go, well, being too much and not making the best decisions. I knew I needed to change, again, my approach overall, but also there's actually a faith element to this. I grew up with just very lukewarm faith, and I'm a Christian, but like very, very lukewarm. And I finally, through this process, said, I was actually interviewing. I had a couple of years of okay success, and I started to interview some of our top performers at the company. And one of the guys, I'm interviewing about success habits, and I'm thinking like, you're gonna tell me about how you wake up and crush it and make all these calls, whatever. And he's like, yeah, I wake up every morning, I get on the treadmill and I listen to this thing called Right Now Media, which is was a like Christian Netflix or something. So he's talking about like enriching his soul to start his day. And here I was trying to study the habits of top performers, and this like hit me in the face going, oh my gosh, what if I started my day with some type of more enriching, regardless of faith, it could be meditation, journaling, or just sitting still. And so I started a practice of actually waking up and reading the Bible. Just did it every day, and it became a habit. And it's funny because at that time, this was before James Clear wrote Atomic Habits, but his blog was out, and I had met him back in 2012 at a conference. So I had friends, and I was following all this stuff, and we started writing. He was the first. I was in the sports and business environment where I knew like I got pretty good at both, but I didn't really understand the science of habits. Like my parents, I just got pretty good at soccer, so they would take me to practice and keep getting better. It was like this self-fulfilling deal. And I learned the concept of like process over outcome. It's 1% better every day and all this stuff, leading versus lagging indicators. There's a bunch of research and books on those sorts of things. And I started to realize that, man, if I could start my day with intention, and the first hour a day is my time. Maybe sounds a little selfish, but it's really not, because it would set me up to serve clients, serve colleagues, serve my family. And that was before With Intention, the framework was built, but this was like the early stages of it. And it was honestly, I look at all this like I'm a living, breathing lab, by the way, and the work's never finished, and I'm standing shoulder to shoulder with everybody. All the answers. I've done a lot of work in this area. Yeah, just going through that process, realizing the emails can wait a little bit, and the phone calls, and maybe if I just spend some time, some quiet time. And actually, just this week, I started a practice where I'm taking a walk without headphones or anything, any technology. I keep my phone at my desk right here, and we have a park across the street. I'm going 45-minute walk and just do a little reflection and prayer, and just like trying to just be still. And that early on it, and I never thought I would be doing a practice like this, but it's been so far like life changing to be able to, I don't know, I feel, and actually from a data standpoint, I have this Whoop that I track. My heart rate variability has gone up this week. Like
Nice.
my sleep's getting better, and I swear there's a correlation there for sure to like getting my parasympathetic nervous system tuned in. And I think you've done a little bit of work with all this type of stuff too, right? So so it's all this stuff is so important.
Yeah, it's transformational without a doubt. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit more about what you offer. I know we talk about your bread and butter in 4 categories, right? You got professional sports, D1 sports, executive teams, and sales teams. So what makes you the right guy to come in any one of those 4 environments and help create a peak performance culture with intention?
Yeah. I mean, look, I would say I've been successful at high levels, but I've failed at high levels. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm not afraid to lead with the failures first. So I think I've been in the room and I've seen the good and the bad. So just being able to have that lived experience and being able to teach that and coach to that. And the way I approach everything is truly, I said it earlier, this partnership approach, like allowing the trust to build in whatever is, and for whatever reason, it's a gift from God. Just been able to build trust quickly with people. So it's getting in the right rooms, building trust with the right leaders, getting leaders connected, because I think that's a huge opportunity I'm seeing out there, that these high performing teams aren't truly connected. And I don't think it's as hard as people think. I think it can be as easy as just getting in an environment and having the right conversations. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people, stress is increasing, right? Employee engagement's decreasing overall in the business world. I would say in the sports world, it's interesting. You're getting a lot of there's always been ego that drives any of this stuff. I think even more so. We have social media, and you have brands, big deal, and a lot of money is at play, right? So you're managing a lot of egos and personalities. Coaches are making a lot of money, so jobs are on the line. Friend in the world they're calling for his head. The supporters just sent an email out last week saying coach, sporting director, and president should all be fired. Like, that's crazy. But that's the environment. That's what you sign up for. So yeah, I think it's the right I think people are ready for this conversation too. I think coming out of COVID, especially, people want this human connection. I don't know if you're feeling that, but I feel it.
Yeah.
I just feel like people are way guards are down. There's still a stigma around stuff. Still, I think as humans, we don't want to show weakness, but I think the more we lean.
So when you are spending a day with an executive team or pro sports team, what do you hope that they remember about your time together? What are the, 1, 2, or 3 most absolutely important things for them to carry forward?
Yeah, I think I want them to know they're cared for. but I want them to get to know themselves, right? So this is part of what we're building with this assessment is that we're all wired a certain way. And it's fascinating. You look at 40 different assessments, everyone's different. We all have this beautiful, unique DNA and the way and then experiences in life. And so being able to give people that awareness to realize it's a mirror. It doesn't, and there's some things in our assessment that are, we call them blind spots and weaknesses. Like that's okay. You have to be aware of those things. You also have superpowers and strengths, right? Like it's the both and proposition where you live into those superpowers a little bit more, you build the strengths, but you also should be aware of those weaknesses. So I just see people, I was just in a room yesterday with a consulting client who's also taken the assessment, and just knowing a little bit more and giving him a little bit more awareness to how he operates. And then there's just trust between us a little bit. I see him working in the room. It just leads to so many rich conversations that we go to dinner and you're talking about different things. And oh man, we're some folks on his team taking the assessment now and do a readout team scenario, which is to me, that's the fascinating part. I love the individual piece. That's really cool. But it's like you and Natalie on your team, right? Like being able to connect the dots and see how the teams work together, how you can work better. What are your strengths and maybe deficiencies, what someone else is. And so I have this crazy vision of being in a room and seeing, let's call it a sports team, and knowing the wiring of every player and the wiring of the coaches and the wiring of the medical staff and the wiring of the front office, where it informs behaviors and how people connect. And if I know you a little bit better and how you think and why you operate the way you do, I'm going to be able to serve you better, right? And play and be a better teammate or a better coach or whatever that may be. And I just think, and then the business world, there are some good assessments out there. Like we used to use DISC, and it was really interesting because I'm a really heavy I. My boss was a very heavy D. So D's like direct, I's an influencer. So I had to learn to communicate more directly with him. And I had to learn to not get so offended if he was direct with me. But so that's awesome. So we were able to communicate a little bit better. But I think there's a lot of layers to this. And so that's where, the with intention operating system of sorts at scale in organizations, that's the dream scenario. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. So know thyself, know your teammates and your coach or your boss and vice versa, and know how to relate with one another better so that you can achieve peak performance as a team. And then you've got, a strong POV around vulnerability and, heart-centric, heart first, kind of lead with your heart in all areas of life. And I will say about your assessment, this was incredible. So Natalie, my COO, and I took this assessment, and John did this readout with us, and it was so illuminating and helpful. And we've done a lot of other like out of the box assessments as well. I mean, DISC, Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, Strengths Finders. And while those are all somewhat helpful, it felt generic, right? Whereas your assessment, really hit on the nose. It reflected back to us some things we already knew. So it shined a mirror there, and that was great. But it was also so illuminating in things that we were not aware of. We have blind spots around. And so it was so useful. You're talking about strengths and superpowers, and then we've got like growth edges and things that we need to work on, and just having the awareness that, and being vulnerable with my COO about, my non-strengths, if you will, my growth edges. And that was a really, really great experience. Natalie and I were like texting that Friday night just about how great we were feeling about just each other and the work that we're doing together and the team that we're leading. And it was really, really transformative. And I know that's just the tip of the iceberg of, what you bring to the table, John. I think you have so much street cred. You have, like I said earlier, been there, done that, and got the t-shirt, and you have put all of this experience together and packaged it up with the Giganti group. You have something really, really special going on. I mean, you already have the best-selling book, and you're already coaching and consulting and speaking at a very high level. And, you and I both know that the sky is the limit for you, but you have this really, really unique special sauce that you're bringing forward. And people need to know more about you, and they need to bring you into their organizations to the end of peak performance in a very different way than what we've been taught for a very, very, very long time. Whether the words you put to it are I like your hustle culture more, but toxic masculinity, hustle culture, we're going about this wrong. We're like pushing the boulder up the hill as opposed to working together to get to the end of it's the championship, but then it's also like, what is life after the championship? And what does it mean to have camaraderie and brotherhood or sisterhood on a team, sports, executive, whatever. So I appreciate what you're bringing to the table. And, all of our clients are very mission and vision focused, right? That's a requirement to work with our org. And so share a little bit about how people can work with you. And then I've got a couple questions for you about the accelerator.
Website, John Giganti on LinkedIn, post a few times a week. I've got a cohort that's actually a second cohort that's starting with performers soon. And yeah, I mean, the book, of course, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Audible as well. So I hear from a lot of people that they enjoy listening on Audible versus reading it, because I actually recorded the book myself. I had a producer and a nice studio and everything else, which was painstaking, by the way, like 2 days to record that thing. And this guy made me sound a lot better than I did, because there were a lot of fits and starts with that thing. So the book is probably a good first starting point. I have a newsletter as well that I publish every Saturday morning. And I wrote this down as you were talking, because I want to make this clear. Winning is important, right? We all want to win. There's nothing wrong with winning, but just can we do it in a more sustainable way, in a more human way? And that's what I believe this is all about.
That's right. And you got the flashlight. You're showing us the way. You have blazed the trail, and you're sending the elevator back down for a whole lot of other people who are kicking ass and taking names. And like I said, sky's the limit. So we're very excited to be working with you and helping you build your dream business, because we believe in the impact and legacy that you're working toward. And it's pretty awesome. So thank you for letting us be a part of it.
Thank you. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. So tell us how you came to be in the accelerator. What kind of attracted you to this insane 7-month sprint? I'll start there.
Okay. So talk about assessments. There's this assessment called Colby, which is awesome. I took the Colby assessment and couldn't understand it. It's a little complex, but I come to understand it a lot better as I'm building my own assessment. One of my key things is I'm a fact finder and a quick start, which means like if I get interested in something, I'll jump all in and I'll just do a ton of research and go. And so when I knew I was leaving my corporate gig and building this business last May, I joined a cohort digital writing deal. It was like you write for 30 days and publish. And although I had written a book, there was an element where I'm like, no one wants to hear from me all the time. Published, that's stupid for 30 days. Finally, I read Austin Kleon's book, Show Your Work, which was awesome. It was just about almost having this living, breathing practice. So I started to approach publishing that way. And then I went down this rabbit trail of like digital writing and digital marketing, and like, all right, I'm starting my business, so I need to, I'm not just a sales guy. So after I did that, those 30 days of writing, I came across someone on LinkedIn, which then led me to Amanda Getz, who obviously you work closely with. And so she did this 35-hour digital writing thing. And so I jumped into that, and she offered a month of her office hours. So I started a fact finder. So I jump into that, and you presented on one of the calls. And by the way, the whole time I was learning about Amanda, I was probably in it for 3 months. I didn't know that Level Up was helping her. But I'm living, breathing in her environment, networks and Slack, and taking her 35, day thing, and saw a lot of value and a lot of fruit in that community. And then you presented, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. You presented the bow tie funnel, which I'd never heard of. I didn't know what that was, but I'm like, oh, you have awareness that builds trust, and then you invite into an offer, and there's a purchase decision, and then you build this loyal, raving fan investor. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is magic. This is unbelievable. This is like really the sales process I used in the second half of my career, but like just distilled it down so good. Yeah, that was the background because I was so impressed with Amanda Getz's stuff. I heard you and the team were the collaborators on that. It was like, oh gosh, I need to learn more. So that's when I reached out.
Thank you. We're so glad you did. We just thoroughly enjoy working with you. And it's just good all around. We have the best clients in the world and the best team, I believe. Okay.
You do. I got to say, like, the team has been incredible. And the care from the team. So when I dealt with this family situation with my daughter and the care that everybody provides, sent the family dinner. I mean, that's incredible to me. Just thank you for that. That means I know the business stuff it's gonna go. It needs to go. It's important. The human element, I'm all in. It just that is amazing. You guys, just everything you do, even with Katie Peters today, we're trading messages back, some stuff, and I like to voice text, which hopefully that doesn't annoy you because I know I send that to you guys too because I'm driving and thinking and whatever. And that's just how I get my thoughts out. And she's so gracious. Voice text sometimes they're a little long. Sure.
No, Katie's the best. She's amazing. Yeah. Well, how is your experience? Just spend a minute talking about like what your experience has been so far as compared to what you were expecting, perhaps, and maybe talk about your cohort members a little bit, folks going through this program with you.
Yeah, incredible. Can I share my story though, booking the first call with you?
Yeah.
Like, because on your thing, can I say the amount? I can say the amount, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so on the question it said, do you have a budget for 140K? And I'm like, oh crap, click. Like I left and I didn't book the call. And then you kept coming up and then I started listening to some podcasts and I just started digging in and then that's when we started setting up conversations and probably, that was cool too. Just seeing your process. It wasn't just one and done. Yeah, it's going to call and I'm going to pitch you. It was not, you were such a great matchmaker. I will say this, the biggest thing I'm learning after being in sales for 25 years is I have more sales. Like honestly, I'm learning, thank you. I'm like, and it's different now because I'm selling my own services and myself. It's different than selling some piece of software. But just the idea of matchmaking and like really getting to the heart of values, outcomes, and transformations. I've never used that language before. And so, I've learned how to sell and so what's the vision and how do we connect the dots. But like that piece. So if you can take a guy like me who has the experience and I see you up level everybody else, but the experience has been first class, no stone unturned. I mean, I've got folders and it's like, I don't know if we're going to go into this at all, but building out my 10-year vision. And what's cool is it's actually the with intention process. Awareness is the first step. The first thing we did was the business audit, right? Where are you today? Then it was, where do you want to go? So what's the vision? And so that's my agency's ownership, ambition is the vision, then take action, and then you adjust. Like, I'm in this process with you guys. So, and I know there's like, I always love when I get the Notion, notifications, there's an update or there's a document, because it's like Christmas morning for me where I get to read through stuff. And it's intense, like no doubt about that. It's not easy at all. So when I first read my initial strategy document that you had me put together, I was like, oh, this is big. This is scary, but awesome. And it took me a couple of days to finally realize like, this is okay, let's live into this. I'm not immune to doubts. Like I have them. I've gotten pretty good at punching them in the face, but they still come up from time to time. It's just thinking bigger and just trusting the process.
Yeah. And that's a lot of what the accelerator is about, right? Thinking much, much bigger because we see your potential. We see all the ingredients and we know like, okay, here's what terminal velocity potentially looks like. And it is oftentimes bigger than our clients are initially thinking.
Yeah.
But that's really important. I mean, I really, really do think that we have the absolute best and most capable clients in the world. You guys all know your shit. You're all thought leaders. You're all subject matter experts. You all have this incredible life experience since we're working with folks who are like mid 30s to mid 50s, really. I mean, everyone has expertise. And we believe there is so much more untapped potential for thought leaders and experts that is not being advertised. A course is not a be all end all. scenario, a low ticket membership is not a challenge, is not, we're working toward, okay, how can we help our clients become authors, speakers, and advisors through productized services that earn monthly recurring revenue so that our clients can build generational wealth, live a life with lifestyle architecture, and leave a tremendous legacy and have a whole lot of impact. And so our whole MRR method process is meant to kind of extract, like, what are all the ingredients this person has and what are their ambitions, and desired lifestyle architecture is a huge piece of this. Some of our clients want to build massive businesses and others want to have more of a lifestyle businesses. And we're working to accommodate any of those scenarios, but using that same methodology. So thank you for saying all that. I really appreciate it. I mean, this is a process that we deeply enjoy. And one of my favorite things, like, I'm a maximizer to the T, and I love seeing and drawing out potential in people. And I know that you have that as well. And that's like a deeply ingrained quality. I think it's completely inextricable from both of us, right? We see it and we want to draw it out, and both have really interesting ways of doing that. But
yeah, can I just make one?
Yeah,
because it's cool. It's actually really cool to watch you interact with your team, and just to see the way you built it, because it's a growing team. And how many team members do you have now?
We have 10 full-time and a suite of contractors.
Yeah, just to see, like, if you're like an orchestrator and knowing what your strengths are, and then knowing how the team fills their unique ability and strength. And that's been fun to me, because as I build my business, and initially was probably thinking more solopreneur type business, but you guys had me thinking bigger of, maybe I do need a team, and maybe there is more scale here and impact. So I have ideas that pop up every day. I talk about you guys every day in every conversation. Hey, because everybody asks, hey, what are you up to? How's it going? It's this incredible business accelerator, and it's the craziest thing to invest in, but here's what I'm doing. It's awesome. And honestly, I view you guys as like an indispensable piece of the team. I'm going to crush my negotiating. My hope is that even after the accelerator, I would love to continue to partner, because I know what my strengths are, and it's not a lot of this back office stuff. Like, it's cool and I can jump into it, but to have, like, honestly, thinking partners, that's how I view. I just did a call with Monica yesterday talking about my cohort. She was amazing. She had me think through some of that. I did a call with Aaron a couple weeks ago on LinkedIn. It's like just being able to have a trusted team to talk to and brainstorm with. It's awesome. I didn't expect that, by the way, but that piece of it has been amazing.
Well, you answered my next question. I was going to ask you what's been kind of like most surprising or unexpected, but yeah, we're meant to be the expert in the back pocket for any facet of running like a boutique coaching and consulting firm like this. So I'm glad we're delivering on that. And our intention is to have a long-term relationship with our clients too. We want to elevate you to your full potential as founder and CEO, and make sure, again, you're spending your time you're delivering client services and doing keynotes and writing amazing content and bringing your ideas forward to the world. And our job is to remove all of the obstacles for you to do so.
Yeah. It's cool about what you guys are doing. Because I've thought, what if this doesn't work out? What keeps me going, I see this for you guys, is all the lives that you are impacting, and the multi-generational future generations. So if you don't press on and build your team and continue to do this work, those folks are going to lose out. If I continue to press on, build this, any of that future impact is not going to happen. And so for me, that's a cool thing to think about. Of like, oh my gosh, let's keep going. I couldn't say enough good things about the work you do. It's world class, and obviously you cut your teeth in high-level sales and leadership, and that's very evident.
Thank you. I'm really appreciative of you saying that. What would you say to someone who is considering joining a cohort?
Don't overthink it. You're here for a reason, and you're, listen to your gut, and sometimes you got to bet on yourself. And yeah, it's a big financial investment, but there's also the guarantee, which is incredible, right? But bet on yourself. I just think it's anytime I've done anything like this, which I've done, and like heroic public speaking was a big investment. I went through that process. Been in masterminds, different things. Every time I've invested, and if it's a bigger investment, sure, there's always like a little discomfort, like, is this worth it? Is it all right? every single time because it changes the person. You're not the same person when you finish an experience like this. Like you evolve. And look, could I have built this business without you guys? Was I going down a path? Yeah, but it would have looked totally different. I was already going to go down this like community path. If I didn't interact with you guys, now I'm going more high ticket, which makes total sense for my network and what value. And so what probably would have taken me 5 years to build with a lot of bumps, I already know it. I can feel it. That we're going to cut that time down. I mean, December, let's go. I mean, we're for that. So yes, it's keeping me focused. I would say for anybody, bet on yourself, get out of your comfort zone. If you have the fear, sometimes you got to, the best way to get over fear is just to attack it head on. That's how it feels.
Thank you. Love that, John. Appreciate your point of view. And y'all go to johngiganti.com, follow John on LinkedIn, grab his book With Intention on Amazon or his website. And do you have a quick parting shot? Anything else you'd like to share before we sign off?
Yeah, it's not about us. It's about others. Just pay it forward. Whatever you do, just make sure you're in service of others and good things will happen. Thanks for having me.
Very well said. Thank you so much. And thank you, listeners. We know that your time is precious and we appreciate you sharing yours with us. If you're a subject matter expert looking to build a fully customized business in a box with a 5-figure MRR guarantee, head over to mrraccelerator.com to learn more. And don't forget to follow me, Amanda Northcutt, on LinkedIn for daily consulting insights. That's it for today. We'll see you next time on the Level Up Creators Podcast.